represent Aniri Ojiriba Federal Constituency from Enugu State. I'm the Deputy Minority Leader, House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, sir, we are here to get your reaction looking at what has happened back there in South Africa. One attack too many. This is not the first time, and of course still continuing. What do you understand by what is happening in South Africa, the word called xenophobic itself?
Well, it's quite sad what is happening in South Africa. It's completely un-African. It doesn't show a people who are able to understand where they are coming from. A lot of people describe it as xenophobic attacks. You know, for me, which is an extreme anxiety, of meeting strangers. But I would rather say this is an Afrophobic attack, because xenophobic means you are attacking every stranger or every person who is a stranger to South Africa. But this is focused on black people. We have people who are from Pakistan, from Asia, from other people who are from other countries outside Africa who are white. But the concentration is on black people. And it's just an unfortunate inheritance from apartheid. Seeing your own brothers as people who are responsible for whatever challenge you have. So it's quite sad. I'm in constant touch with my constituents, who is also a victim of this. His entire shop was wrecked. But you could see people being burnt alive. You could see people being smashed with stones. So it's quite sad. And I will say that the South African government has been very responsive. And they have not been very responsible with regard to how they're handling this. And the utterances of people who are in certain capacities, like ministers, is not anything to write home about. So it is actually motivated, it's driven, and it's not a sudden shock. So the idea that it was a sudden attack and the people were not prepared, this is one too many.
Okay, so looking at the situation at this moment, the Nigerian government has also taken steps to reach out to Nigerians and trying to find a way to bring them back to Nigeria. How would you see that move, sir?
It's not a matter of bringing back. Who restitutes them? There ought to be restitution with regard to what has been destroyed. The government of South Africa is vicariously responsible for what is happening. They have to put back our citizens to the state in which they were. Their shops, the people who have lost, the aggravated damages on the children of those who have lost their parents and their relations. They have to put back those people in the state they were. And this is what I will ask the Nigerian community there to properly articulate all their losses. If it requires getting some legal representation, that has to be done. Because, each time it happens, it just waved by the corner. There has to be consequences for this type of action. So it's not something that, you simply send a delegation. No, it doesn't work that way and ask people to come back. Have we asked South Africans in Nigeria to go back? When their leaders, came here to go to school, would they ask them to go back? We accommodated them like brothers. And let me tell you one thing. Our practice, the nature of businesses Nigerians do, is that people like people who are undertaking a farm work or planting yam and all, the way they do their business is that every man owns his own shop. They are not yet into this corporate practice or mega malls. Even when you go to Idumota, when you go to Wuse Market, it's self-evident that Nigerians pursue their own small businesses. So for effectiveness, those are their own shop rights. Those little shops is their own shop right. It's their own mega mall. So when you go to destroy those things, you are destroying people. So it's not something that is not sufficient to say come back. It's good to come back, but our government has to take actions to make sure that they don't come back and become a burden to themselves, a burden to their relations. And this is a perdition that have been orchestrated willfully by individuals. When you come to South Africa, as a matter of fact, look, unless there is no available South African before Nigeria is engaged. If Nigerians are out of their own volition, people go and pick wrecked cars and repair them and sell them in shops, what offense does that commit? If people have adduced the reason, Nigerians engage in crime here, and they're fine. The people who engage in crime here, we don't mob them. We arrest them and prosecute them. Unless in a failed state you say that, self-help is allowed. You can't allow it. The South Africans, the young South Africans, do they look of us and we look like people who prosecuted apartheid in South Africa? We fought it with all the muscle we had. We offended countries, including the Americans and the British. We offended countries, nationalized their entities, their companies here. And that was because we had no reason to do it. It was just to give some economic bite so that they will know that we are serious about the redemption of the redemption of South Africans who were being, dealt with by the apartheid regime then. And if this is how we pay back, then I think something is wrong somewhere. So it's not xenophobic per se, it's Afrophobic, because these are people who are worried by the presence of other black people. Have you looked at any of those people and any Nigerian, any Yoruba man, Igbo man, or Hausa man, or any Calabar? Do they look like pig butter? Did we do anything offensive against them? So there are no excuses for it. So if there is a situation where people from South Africa are having some level of anxiety because of their history, it is a definition of purpose for government. It is a responsibility government has to discharge. We were on the same side. We were frontline states. There wasn't any kind of discomfort Nigeria didn't experience because we were in favor of freedom for South Africa. So it's our expectation that they should look at the mirror and tell us what they are seeing. They should look back at their history and tell us what they are seeing. Nigerians are not happy. We are not happy. And as a responsible and responsive government, we should do better than we are doing. There should be economic sanctions. You can severe diplomatic relations. Nothing lasts forever. During apartheid, Nigerians were not going to South Africa. So, what the heck if we don't go there? That's not the only country. What the market share of the shops in Hillbrow? What's the market share? What's the market share of the economy of Nigerians in South Africa? Tell me, what's the percentage share? Then what is the market share of DSTV in Nigeria on cable network? It's 100%. If those people are sharing any market in South Africa, they're only having about 1 to 2% of particular cities. And you see the utterances of the officials of government. And the fact that the police are not even making any effort to respond to people's calls. My constituent told me that he called them, they were not willing to come. So for me, law enforcement agents, they are accessories to the crime that are being committed. And the government is vicariously responsible. So enough should be enough, and we should not tolerate it.
Finally, on still this matter, while the attacks was going on there in Nigeria, some Nigerians have decided to take laws into their hand by attacking or destroying some of these properties owned by the quote-unquote the South Africans, like the ShopRites and the MTN, who just said they are going to shut down. You know, destroying properties. We want to find out your own reaction as well. Why Nigerians are really doing what ought not they should have done.
Well, of course, you can understand the anger with Nigerians. You can understand the hurt. Look, there is a huge challenge. The presence of social media has made everything immediate. So you can see spontaneous reactions. So, but such things, misdirected aggression against ShopRite, against MTN Master and all that, for me, if those people who are perpetrating those mob actions are available, I would say, go ahead and attack them. Or we'll tell the law enforcement agents to pick them and prosecute them. I believe that Nigerians should store their energy to make sure that all the culprits, all the people and South African government, first, that those people are punished. Second, that they are restituted. That those businesses, those losses, and people who have been killed, that their families are restituted. That they are brought back to the same station they were prior to that action. And they have to guarantee their liberty, their freedom. If there are any illegal immigrants, I don't bother, they should send them back. If there are people committing criminals, they should handle them the way we handle our criminals. But I wouldn't subscribe to a situation Nigerians take laws into their hands. That is not who we are. You know, it happened right from 2000. That is when these attacks, you know, xenophobic or Afrophobic attacks, that's when it started. You know, people come and try to take on some trade, and suddenly you think that they are responsible for your own problem. How? So I do not believe that it will work well and it gives us a proper light. No. Nigerians should calm down, and it amounts to attacking the strong man. I believe that if we focus, let's not lose our eye on the ball. The focus should be, first, make sure that our government lives up to expectation. I'm sure very shortly the House of Representatives will respond effectively to that. Two, we should get our government to be very aggressive in some of these issues. Identify some issues, some core areas of interest by South Africa. Two, there are also some exemplary actions, like the Economic Summit in Africa. I don't think we should be there. For what? What are you talking shop? After all, going to go there, jump into their airline, pay them some more money in the hotels, encourage their tourism, only for us to be killed. You know, number of Nigerians, apart from people who have been killed on the street, maimed. You remember the last, the lady, the DG who was killed in her own room. So you find out that nobody is even safe. You go there, You spend money on in their hotels, you eat their food, you pay. You use their airline. Is there any Nigerian Airways going there? The balance of convenience is that of South Africa. The balance of convenience is that of South Africa. So there isn't any merit in being laid back in our reaction. If there are some economic, we pinch them because those boys and those young people, they are damaging the economy is as good as the kind of... so there has to be sanctions. If we did it on their behalf against the British and America, we can do it against them because they have forgotten their past. So, but I do not think it is wise to begin to do that because we are the ones using the network. Now, if I want to call my village, they say, oh, the mast is being burnt. How? You want to go and procure something, they say, oh, the shop is no more there. So we end up hurting ourselves. And you should remember that those goods, those things are mere franchise. It's Nigerians that go and take up spaces in those shops and they now ply their trade there. They display their wares and all that. So it's not one person that just brings all goods and all that. No. It's a franchise. They just build them and people, if you're selling wristwatches, if you're selling groceries and other wares, television and the rest, you go and take space there. You have eateries, you have cinemas and all that. So they are being done by different people other than the franchise. So I have my friends who are also owners of various brands there. So when you go and do that, you are hurting your brother. You say, hey, brother, I didn't know it's now your own. No. So we need to be very prudent. So and it is not, I know that those people who are South Africans who are here may not be related to the people who are committing the crime there. So the nature of crime is that you are responsible for your actions. You don't transfer it. And in punishment, we should not transfer it. It will be against natural justice.